today's face-off on Fox Soul, challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
But what he has actually achieved in the last few years. Look, on this issue, as a transition, I've been involved in this space for many, many years. As Lieutenant Governor, I set forth a framework where I thought we should responsibly begin to address the issue of reforms as it relates to the adult use of cannabis in the state of California. I worked with folks in law enforcement, children advocates, health advocates, over a course of a year, year and a half, on a very comprehensive and transparent process to put a white paper forward to advance a paradigm that ultimately led to an initiative to reform our marijuana laws in the state of California, our laws around cannabis. Led to an initiative that I helped draft, that I helped organize, aided by and informed by that white paper that we set forth. Ultimately led to an initiative, Proposition 64, that overwhelmingly supported by the voters.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, I'm not a very big fan of Governor Newsom in California, but in this particular case, where he wants to ban the use or the sale of THC products to children or products that contain hemp in it, which has high levels of THC in it. He wants to ban it in a manner that it prevents children from having easy access to it. If you speak to any licensed chemical dependency drug counselor, therapist, or licensed care facility that treats addiction with youth and adolescents, they will tell you that's a real problem, Charles. I've walked into stores, regular stores that sell hemp products. There's no age limit on how old you have to be to buy those products. There's young adolescents that could walk in there and buy a hemp product that contains THC with no regulation. And these products do make you high, Charles. Let's be honest. I have to admit, I took some gummies about a year ago for my back pain. I promised to God in heaven I'll never do that again. I was so high. Charles, I was so high. I don't use drugs. I don't even drink. But them damn gummies took me on a roller coaster ride, brother. In fact, I thought I was on my way to Mars to meet a whole new race of people.
Okay, let me respond. First of all, it's not true. There are age regulations in place in California for selling THC products, as there are in most states. And this is just another example of Gavin Newsom absolutely lying. Gavin Newsom has allowed Oakland to become just chaos. He has allowed San Francisco, and which I go to frequently, and Los Angeles, which I also travel to business for frequently, portions of those cities descend into crime-blighted hellholes. These are two of the most wonderful cities in this country and the world. San Francisco used to be one of the most beautiful, and it's people are terrorized. The residents are terrorized, and who are most terrorized? Residents, impoverished residents of color in poor areas in these urban neighborhoods where they are getting no services. Why? Because Gavin Newsom said shut it down. We have parks that children, especially poor children, can't play in because they allowed for years.
But that's not
people,
just California.
But I understand.
That's all over
But
America.
he led it. He was the line leader, and this is what he did. He talks about the kids, but really this is just a new system
Charles,
to implement regulation.
Hold
on, let me finish.
And raised in Los Angeles, California.
Hold on.
The parks were not safe way before Governor Newsom.
Okay. He is implementing policies only designed to increase the ability to regulate and tax for the people that pay him money. And who are the people that pay him money? Big alcohol, big pharma. It's all about controlling.
But he wants to pass this legislation.
He wants to ban it. Ban it completely. That's what he's asking for, a ban.
He wants to implement legislation that closes the loopholes that allows adolescents to gain access to these products that contain high levels of THC.
Be less gullible. He wants to ban them and to prevent adults from having a liberty interest of being able to consume them. Grown people.
His focus is on adolescents and teens and young people.
No, that's his excuse for acting as a shill for big pharma and big alcohol, who now marijuana consumption has surpassed alcohol.
And in some cases, elementary school kids who can go in these stores and buy these products with no real regulation.
That is not true.
Charles, let me tell you something.
Hyper-regulated, especially in California.
There's stores right now, in Texas right now, to where kids can go in there and buy loose cigarettes kids.
That's a crime.
You hear me?
But it's a crime.
And they're
it's
not,
a crime
and
to
they
sell
need to enforce
loosies.
these crimes.
Okay, yes,
they need
but
to
we don't,
enforce these
but
crimes
we don't
with
need
arrest.
new bans.
But they're not arresting these people, Charles. Let me tell you something else. These hemp products are dangerous, man.
I don't disagree. But here's the thing.
Them gummies I took should be illegal.
It's already illegal. You just a lightweight.
Them gummies I took should be illegal.
It is already illegal to sell to kids. He is trying to ban it for adults for one purpose: to facilitate the whims of the people that pay him money, because he's corrupt.
So
and he's dishonest.
So you're against any legislation that will help close the loopholes that are giving kids and allowing kids to gain access to these products.
I am all for making it illegal. It already is illegal. It doesn't have to be made illegal.
But
to
there's
sell
loopholes
these to children. No, there's
where they
not.
can gain access to it,
No,
Charles.
there's
Yes.
not.
That's
People
exactly
are
what the
breaking
government
law.
is saying.
There are bad parents and bad businesses that are breaking the law, and they need a consequence. That's not what the governor's saying. He is saying ban them outright, and he's got nefarious purposes. It's about destroying our liberty.
Why would he want to ban THC in California when California's already legalized smoking marijuana?
Sorry, let me say it
marijuana
slowly.
use and consumption is not illegal in California anymore. So why do we want to ban THC, man?
Because he wants to control the industry for the purposes of taxation.
He's making the
and
most money
regulation.
from the marijuana industry as any other governor in America.
Okay. He's not.
Yes, he is. Marijuana is legal use in California.
explain? I'm very
and they got
familiar.
a marijuana dispensary almost on every corner in California.
As a marijuana user and a fan,
Jesus Christ, he just
I
listened to
will
himself.
explain to you.
I knew you was a dope fiend. I knew you was a damn dope fiend.
California,
I'm done, man. Look here.
In California, what they do is they have regulated almost all those dispensaries, the chain ones, out of because the cost and the taxation is so high. So people are still buying it on the streets, which is the problem. It's all about control. It's all about infringing on our liberty. If you're not selling it, because I drink it. Shout out to Cheech and Chong's marijuana
Man,
seltzer.
you smell like skunk.
I don't smoke.
Man, you smell like skunk,
You
man.
can lie all day. I don't smoke.
You smell like skunk,
Cheech
man.
and Chong THC seltzer. I drink them like you drink.
You smell like
whatever
some
you
old
drink.
school Buddha tie, man. I knew you was getting high.
Hey man,
Smoking
man.
shit before you come
Before
up in here.
bed every night, it works
Oh,
wonders.
my God, he's
it
sticking to
works
himself.
wonders. I'll get you some.
They won't raid your house, though.
I'll get you
They
some.
won't raid your house, though.
Shout out to Cheech.
He
Shout
got
out
the
to
complexion
Chong.
for the protection, promoting dope uses. They ain't gonna raid his house, though.
Oh, come on.
Be published on the Sheriff's Office website. It removed all of the booking photos earlier today after a ruling last week by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco. Judges ruled that mugshots posted online can cause people public exposure and humiliation before they've been convicted of a crime. The case stems from a man named Brian Houston, who is suing the Sheriff's Office. He was arrested by Phoenix police on assault charges back in 2022. In his complaint, he says that his mugshot on the internet permanently damaged his business and personal reputation. Individual mugshots posted on the site were visible for 3 days and included personal information like people's birth date, height, and weight. The court says that Houston was never prosecuted on the charges list that were listed, which were later dropped.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, the California, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, incredibly far left, right? And this is not a surprising decision. I am one that is an advocate for transparency and governmental action. And typically, I would support disseminating any information because I think information is important. But I actually applaud this verdict, this ruling, for the reasons stated, Quanell. I've had a client in the past. I've had many innocent clients, but one in recent history, before I closed down the criminal defense side of my practice, who was accused in Montgomery County, very conservative county, small business owner, accused of sexual assault of a child. I very quickly had affirmative evidence that he was absolutely innocent and the victim wanting to testify. And I had a district court that was acting obstructionist to allowing me to put on the testimony in a preliminary hearing. And this man's life was destroyed, right? He ran his own business, and when he wasn't running his own business, he also worked as an operator. And you know, he dedicated his life to his family and everything. And he wasn't it wasn't a case where they couldn't prove his guilt, right? Which, you know, they have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. He was actually absolutely innocent. And I had affirmative evidence that he was absolutely innocent. They put him all over Facebook, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. They did they took all these actions, and it destroyed this man's life. And what we should do instead is, as the court said, hey, let's wait until he's convicted. Now, there's a secondary issue. These private websites are then taking the mugshot data, disseminating it on their websites and across the internet, and basically extorting people to pay them money to remove it. And I'm all for criminals being exposed, but if you haven't been convicted, the government shouldn't be publishing it.
Well, then there's a simple fix, Charles. If you have other entities, nefarious companies that are taking these mugshots and making people pay them to have them taken down, will then pass a law that prosecutes them for extortion.
Some places have.
Now, two, I believe that mugshots can be helpful in many different ways. If you're charged with a violent crime, a sex crime, or something like that, I think your mugshot should be released immediately. But once the case is dismissed or you're found not guilty, the entire arrest record and the mugshot should be expunged
But it's already out there.
from the system.
It's already out there.
At the expense of the state. But Charles, here's the problem. You and I both know they can lie about you on the internet whatever they get ready, man. They can create fake mugshots of you on the internet because that's how terrible the internet really is. You can't believe half the shit you read on the internet no more. So at the end of the day, we have to find ways to inform the public, keep them safe that such a notorious individual has been arrested and charged, and let them see who that person is, then waiting until maybe they're convicted or not convicted to tell somebody what's going on. What if my next door neighbor was arrested for 4 counts of child molestation and I got children at my house? Don't I have a right to know that information before he's quote unquote found guilty or not guilty?
Well, I'm not saying that they shouldn't publish that they've arrested someone, and I'm not saying that you should be prohibited from taking a picture and putting it on social media. What I'm saying is that the government creating a photo array of a defendant before he's been convicted can destroy people's lives. And while you are obviously the docket's going to be publishable, but there should be a rule appropriately by the Ninth Circuit that says, hey, we realize that it takes your liberty when you've been accused of these crimes. Just being accused.
So if your next door neighbor killed his wife and you was out of town on vacation and you came back, okay,
All right.
and you're telling me that arrest should be kept
No,
private?
I'm not saying
that
the
his
arrest.
mugshot should be
No,
kept
I'm saying
private
just the
so that you
mugshot.
and your wife can come home to a killer next door and not even know because he's quote unquote not been found guilty yet? Shouldn't you have a right to know that this man's been charged next door to your home with such a
Absolutely.
violent crime?
Absolutely.
Well, mugshots actually serve that purpose. But if he's found not guilty, then expunge the mugshot, expunge the arrest record, and get rid of the whole thing.
How do you expunge a mugshot when all people have to do is press the 2 buttons on their phone to get a screenshot of it, and then they have it forever?
Simple. Make it against the law for anyone outside of a governmental entity to have a mugshot. Okay,
but that's not possible.
And
The
then
First,
what
the First
it is,
Amendment prohibits
it
that
is-
sort of legislation.
No, you cannot share a mugshot of someone who's not been found
That's-
guilty.
the First
Only
Amendment-
a government law
the
enforcement
First
entity can do
Amendment
that.
prohibits that.
And then pass legislation to make it enforceable, to make it a crime.
So instead of just saying, hey, cities, counties, you don't do that, you want to amend the United States Constitution, which will never happen, and then you want our legislators to agree on something, which is also pretty unlikely, instead of just saying, hey, yeah, let's hold this information back, this picture back, until we have a conviction.
So Charles, if you got a daughter who's a college student, just say college student, right? You got a beautiful, highly intelligent, successful young daughter, great doctor, but what if she's in medical school and the man next door got arrested for rape and they publish it in the school newspaper, his mugshot?
Okay.
Are you telling me she shouldn't have a right to know that?
No, I don't have any
And that's
issue.
her next-door neighbor?
I'm not talking about if someone, let's say a newspaper, went out and took a picture of somebody charged with a crime and published it. I'm 100% okay with it, right? What I am criticizing is the government out there actively promoting it as if some people are convicted of a crime.
If it's okay for a newspaper to do it, the government should be able to do it
Well,
also. What's the difference?
It's very different, all right? The First Amendment only restrains government conduct. It doesn't provide it, right? Like the free speech clause is to allow individuals not to have governmental restraint from their speech, right? The free press clause is to not allow the government to restrain private press. I'm not asking to restrict, like in Britain, you can get arrested for publishing a picture of a convicted murderer if they happen to be a child or something. It's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm not saying
they
let's
go
go
too far to protect
but
the
we
bad
should
guys.
go to that socialist extreme. But what we should do, Charles, is keep in
Britain's not
place
socialist.
that which protects the public about people who've been charged with some serious crimes and heinous crimes.
Well, you can publish
But
that they're
also
arrested.
make it illegal for certain private entities to take that mugshot and extort people for money to pull it down.
Extortion is already illegal. I agree with the fact that extortion,
Oh,
but the truth
there's
is,
quote-unquote loopholes, like the last segment we had. There's loopholes to where it allows people to get around, quote-unquote, being charged with extortion.
there's loopholes in everything.
Just make it
but
illegal,
there are
period.
elements to the crime, and if it satisfies it, it should be prosecuted. The more often with extortion, the problem is that law enforcement doesn't want to do their damn job. And here we are, I just firmly believe that it is a good idea to restrain the government's ability to release data. Not to say that, they can say somebody was charged with a crime, they can have the docket sheet, but to release the booking photo and other stuff that's going to taint the
But
potential
not
jury
at the
pool.
expense of
That's gonna
keeping the
taint the
public in the
potential
dark.
Hey,
Not at the expense of keeping the public
I'm not
in the
asking
dark.
to keep the public in the
about
dark.
some of these dangerous
I'm
criminals,
asking
Charles.
not to condemn people before they've been convicted.
And that's why we say innocent until proven guilty.
Well, you don't
now,
feel that way?
what the media should not be allowed to do is demonize people before they've been found guilty.
Now, so you want to let
The
the
media
police,
does that.
You hate the
Remember
police,
O.J.
but you want to let
Simpson?
the police do whatever
Remember
they
O.J.
want.
Simpson?
You mean the guy that chopped his wife's head off?
The man that was found innocent.
Yeah, come on. He was
not
not found
guilty.
innocent. He was found
He
not
was
guilty.
found not guilty. He was innocent.
Okay.
In today's Face Off, up.
Youth basketball coach is accused of sexually assaulting young players who stayed the night at his home. 41-year-old Aaron Hermstad taught at Mastery School in Minneapolis and coached basketball at Hospitality House. According to a criminal complaint, a child, now 14, says when he was 11 or 12, he stayed at his house, woke up to his coach assaulting him. A 12-year-old tells investigators earlier this year Hermstad offered to pay him for a sexual act. His charges include first and second-degree criminal sexual conduct. Katie Johnson.
Charles, there was a horrific news report about a former Minnesota teacher who's now currently in prison serving 12 years, who's now been re-indicted on additional sexual misconduct and sexual molestation charges of other kids, other students. And how law enforcement discovered this face-off F-up of the lifetime, you ask me, not just today, but for life. This guy took video footage of these assaults. And he took them maybe of hundreds of kids, they say, and they're still trying to locate and identify some of these children in the videos. So he's got 12 new counts. He's going to be brought back to court and re-sentenced again at some point or put back on trial. Whether he cops a plea bargain, decides to go to trial, I don't know. But here's my problem with this case. Why in the hell is he in prison? Why in the hell is he in prison? If that was one of my children that this freak raped.
Okay. We can't advocate for extrajudicial violence.
I didn't say I said that. I didn't say that. I said if that was one of my children that this freak raped, I would help him get that big day with Jesus.
Okay, again, we can't advocate for extrajudicial violence. And I will say this clearly a very extreme face-off. I think F-up is underselling it. What a monster. But it gets worse, Quanell. 2015, first investigated for molesting a student who was spending the night at the house. First of all, why the hell you letting your kids spend the night at a teacher's house or a coach's house? But I don't want to victim blame the parents. Kid reports it. Excel Academy there, they decide to not renew his contract. Because they didn't renew his contract, they felt like they didn't have to report the allegation to the state board. So what happened? He went to work somewhere else that had no damn idea. Well, it gets even worse. Police investigated, decide not to pursue it. So this guy rapes a kid, little kid, young teen, 13, 14-year-old kid. They don't report the allegation as they're affirmatively required to do. The police drop it. He keeps working, continues to have access to the children, continues raping kids. And I'll tell you.
And you think he should be in prison?
Oh, I think he should die in prison. And you know what? Let me tell you something.
You
those
got
pedos,
one part
those
You got one part right.
Those pedos do bad time in prison.
You got one part right. He should die. The bottom line is, if you that sick, that low down, that absolutely, you're not even a human. You're a beast in human form. You put that kind of person down, there's no way in the hell that this man should not qualify for capital punishment. In fact, the law should be changed in every state in America. In cases like this, with a pedophile freak like this, he should be eligible for the death penalty. That should be mandatory, like in Muslim countries.
Okay, and I will.
Because in Muslim countries, you go to jail for this?
Yeah, in Muslim countries where you have no freedom, you have no liberty, women can't drive, women can't eat in restaurants by themselves, women can't be educated, women, I mean, we can just keep going on.
Head go
about
rolling down the mountain.
Civil liberty horror stories of Afghanistan and Iran and
Ain't
Saudi
nowhere in the
Arabia.
hell taxpayers should be paying for his laundry, his dental care, his health care, his cable television. We should not be paying for that man's 3 hot meals a day. The hell with this man.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I agree you can't fix him, right? This is his appetite. There's also the issue with the consequence of the kids. But you cannot, by making a capital offense, what you do to the worst offenders, the biggest monsters, is you say, well, okay, if you get caught doing this, you're going to get capital punishment. If you get caught killing your victim, you're going to get capital punishment.
If you get
so
caught
why
doing
not
it, period.
killing him? No,
If
I
you
know,
get caught doing
but
it,
you're
period.
incentivizing the
And
murder of these
castration
victims.
should come with it.
Oh, I'm good with castration.
And castration come
but
with it.
you are absolutely incentivizing the murder of victims by saying you're going to get the death penalty either way. And you don't want to incentivize murder.
This dude, look here.
I tell you something, that scrawny little white dude, he doing bad time. He's getting just as much. He's getting molested on the reg.
Trust me, Flex the booty bandit looking for him.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.